We good? All right. If we could all rise, please. Welcome to the February meeting of the Lynbrook Board of Education. Mr. Pileski will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wow, that was really bad. We were totally not in sync on that. Roll call all are present. Approval of meetings. If there are no changes, and I don't believe there are, may I have a motion to accept the minutes of the January 8th regular meeting. Mr. Luna and I will abstain. Ms. Pileski, second. Mrs. Argona, all in favor? May I have a motion to accept the minutes of the January 22nd meeting? Ms. Argona, Ms. Kelly, accepted. Mr. Cuttins, Art Gallery, please.
The Burns-Siderman Gallery is proud to present Map of the Heart, an exhibition showcasing the artwork of 38 newly inducted members of the National Art Honor Society, Chapter 2686. This exhibition celebrates the creativity, dedication, and talent of our student artists. For this year's theme, Map of the Heart, students were challenged to create a drawing or a painting on top of a map, using it as a foundation to express something they hold close to the heart. The resulting artwork is rich in personal meaning, featuring depictions of cherished people, places, objects, and memories. Each piece tells a unique story, allowing the viewer a glimpse into the artist's world. Creating art that is personal is a powerful experience. It allows artists to explore their identities, express emotions, and connect with others on a deeper level. Art has the ability to transcend words, making the personal universal and giving a voice to the feelings that might otherwise remain unspoken. Through Map of the Heart, these young artists have transformed maps into visual representations of their passions, histories, and inner landscapes. We invite you to experience this heartfelt collection and celebrate the voices of this year's talented Lynbrook High School National Art Honor Society artists. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cuttins. Dr. Lynch, presentations.
Thank you very much, Mr. Belmont. First of all, tonight we are unveiling a new Lynbrook t-shirt. So there's the hashtag Owl Proud. So there we go. So these will be the first two recipients of the new t-shirt. So as I think we indicated at the meeting, it was breaking news last month. We are thrilled to announce that Eric Riley has been named a semifinalist in the 2025 Regeneron Science Talent Search, the nation's oldest and most prestigious science and math competition. Eric is among 300 scholars who will be awarded $2,000 each, as well as $2,000 for their schools. And so I'm going to try to get through the title of Eric's project. And, I knew he was plagiarizing from me. I know it's just not right. I think I was the first one to think of the visible light induced by photocatalytic oxidation of aromatic alcohols to carbonyls and peroxides using green chemistry principles. I think he deserves a t-shirt. All right, and then we have another follow-up. So we honored the student once before when she was a semifinalist, but now we're going to acknowledge her as a finalist. So Charisse Cuerto has been named one of the 15,000 finalists of the Certificates of Merit for the National Merit Program, which is an extremely, extremely prestigious honor. So she's one of only 15,000 students across the country. So I think Charisse is here. going to go a little off topic here because I think it hit me as the kids were coming up that those are very prestigious academic honors, but both of them were standout performers at Cabaret Night a week and a half ago. So talent abounds. So that is incredible, incredible stuff. So congratulations to them. Okay, and at this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Herb Friend, if he could come up to the microphone. So Mr. Friend is here on behalf of the Never Forget Committee at the Temple and Rockville Center, and they have made a very generous donation of books, class sets of books, which you can see in the back for Holocaust remembrance. We also have President Rabbi Schlesinger, who is from the Hewlett East Rockaway. I always put East Rockaway first, forgive me, but you know why, the Hewlett East Rockaway Jewish Center. And I think, Mr. Friend, if you would provide some context for us, we would appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I'm a first-generation Holocaust survivor. My mom survived Auschwitz, 6 concentration camps, and was liberated by the Russian army from Theresienstadt the night before she was scheduled to be killed by a young Russian tank commander who ended up becoming my father. So the history is quite remarkable, and we found that Holocaust education can make a profound effect on teenagers, significantly reducing the tendency to harbor hate, bigotry, anti-Semitism. And so we formed the Never Again Committee to help provide Holocaust books for the local school systems. And I want to thank the Lynbrook School administration for their incredible cooperation and helping organize the project and making this all possible. But if you open up the cover of the books that we gave you, there is a memorial label. And each book has a label in loving memory of a child that was killed during the Holocaust. It has their name, where they were born, how old they were, and where they were killed. So we wanted to make each book not just a book, but something special that a student could connect to another teenager or child that unfortunately never got to go to school. So on behalf of Temple B'nai Shalom, Beth David, and our committee, I just want to thank the Lynbrook administration and all of you for making this possible.
Great,
So, we actually need a resolution to accept the donation. So Resolution 2502G2, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Lynbrook Union Free School District gratefully acknowledges and accepts the donation of books valued at approximately $2,500 from the Never Again Committee at Temple B'nai Shalom, Beth David, to support Holocaust education in the middle and high schools. Can I have a motion, please? Mr. Luna, second. Mrs. Dino, all in favor? It's passed. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it back to you for.
Yep.
So I'm thinking of the line from Shakespeare right now, because this coming on top of that, if you have tears, prepare to shed them now. So, you know, I see some people already have tears in their eyes, and we're going to go right from this into saying goodbye to some of the finest educators that we have known.
I got it. No, I just want to make sure. Well, mine will be last. So before we get into retirements, we do, as unfortunately we say goodbye, we also say hello. Is Anthony Malizia here? Welcome. He's a new music teacher at West End. Welcome. And now you'll see what happens after you stay for 30 years. Mr. Looney, you want to begin? You want to go?
This retirement resolution for Kathleen Schuler, teacher's aide at Marion Street.
Please stand up.
So whereas Mrs. Kathleen Schuler, a teacher's aide in the Lynbrook Union Free School District, has announced her intention to retire effective June 27, 2025 at the close of business, after 18 years of dedicated service to the principals, staff, students, and parents of Marion Street Elementary School. And whereas throughout her distinguished career, she has been a beacon of support, guidance, and encouragement for countless students, assisting them in navigating both the library and technological landscapes with ease and confidence. And whereas Kathleen Schuler has been instrumental in organizing the stacks in the Marion Street Library, working closely with 3 librarians to maintain and update the extensive collection of titles, her efforts ensured that the library remained a vibrant and current resource for students and staff alike, leaving an incredible mark on the library and transforming it into a hub of learning and exploration. She is well known for her enthusiasm in ensuring that every student leaves the classroom with a book in hand. And whereas Mrs. Schuler has positively impacted the school community through her dedication to technology and student support, she has mastered countless computer programs to support students as they learn to use various applications from Easy Tech and Power Schools to the green screen. She maintained a fully operational computer lab for many years and played a crucial role in the successful implementation of the One-to-One Technology Initiative, managing over 450 laptops. Her responsibilities included basic device maintenance and technology troubleshooting, ensuring that students had reliable access to essential technological tools, and whereas the Board of Education extends its heartfelt gratitude to Kathleen Schuler for her unwavering dedication and commitment to the students of the Lynbrook schools. We wish her a happy and fulfilling retirement, knowing that she will cherish time spent with her husband Chuck, children Amanda, Charlie, and Tara, her adorable granddaughter, Juliana, as well as her parents and family in Maryland. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Kathleen Schuler for purposes of retirement effective June 27, 2025, with profound appreciation for her years of service. Thank you.
At the end, when we're done with our last one, we'll ask the retirees to come up for a photograph. But if Mary Prendergast could please stand up.
Whereas Mrs. Mary Prendergast, a teacher assistant at West End Elementary School, has announced her intention to retire effective June 30th, 2025. And whereas Mrs. Prendergast joined the Lynbrook School District after a successful career at Dreyfus Financial Services, first serving as a student teacher, then as a teacher assistant, and faithfully dedicating 17 years to the Lynbrook Union Free School District, significantly enhancing the educational experience of countless students. And whereas Mrs. Prendergast has worked closely with teachers and students, offering invaluable support in the classroom, fostering a nurturing environment for learning, and always striving to ensure that every child feels seen, supported, and empowered. And whereas Mrs. Prendergast has profoundly impacted students' academic growth through small group instruction in reading and math, building their confidence, and helping them reach their full potential. And whereas Mrs. Prendergast demonstrated remarkable leadership as the head of the Assistants and Aides Union, tirelessly advocating for her colleagues while continuing to serve the school community with steadfast dedication. And whereas Mrs. Prendergast's lighthearted sense of humor, legendary pranks, and quick wit brightened every day at West End, providing endless laughter and reminding us all of the importance of joy in our work. And whereas Mrs. Prendergast's unparalleled generosity and kind heart were evident in her willingness to help anyone in need, her readiness to share advice or lend a hand, and her remarkable ability to turn challenges into opportunities through her creative problem solving. And whereas Mrs. Prendergast's talents extend beyond the classroom, whether meticulously arranging bulletin boards to perfection, crafting beautiful furniture from old pieces, or offering expert book recommendations as an avid reader of historical fiction with her ever-present Kindle. And whereas Mrs. Prendergast's way with words not only enriched her students' learning, but also guided her colleagues in meaningful ways, from helping to compose college essays to crafting heartfelt messages that beautifully captured the essence of any moment. And whereas Mrs. Prendergast's passion for photography has preserved countless cherished memories for the West End community, leaving a legacy of stunning images and unforgettable experiences. And whereas Mrs. Prendergast's love of life and boundless energy inspired all who worked with her, as she never seemed to sit still and was always seeking ways to contribute, to problem solve, and to bring a smile to those around her. Whereas Mrs. Prendergast looks forward to enjoying her retirement with her husband Michael and her 3 sons, Connor, Ryan, and Aiden, as they embark on new adventures together, traveling, capturing photos, and creating beautiful memories. This new chapter will also provide more time to pursue her creative talents and indulge her love of reading and writing. And whereas the Board of Education and the West End Elementary School community deeply appreciate Mrs. Prendergast's 17 years of exemplary service, her unwavering dedication to her students and colleagues, and her countless contributions to the success and culture of the school. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the resignation of Mary Prendergast for the purposes of retirement effective June 30th, 2025.
Kathleen Freehill, please stand up. Whereas Mrs. Kathleen Freehill began her distinguished career in the Lynbrook Union Free School District in January 1997 as a supplement teacher for a half-day kindergarten, and in September 1998 was appointed as a full-time kindergarten teacher at the Lynbrook Kindergarten Center. And whereas Mrs. Freehill has dedicated 28 years to educating young learners and shaping countless students with her passion for teaching, creativity, and nurturing spirit. We will always remember Mrs. Freehill's special saying, "Kiss your brain," as she said this to her students daily. During her time at the Lynbrook Kindergarten Center, Mrs. Freehill not only served as a dedicated educator, but also as the director of summer program for 10 years, planning activities, hiring and directing staff, and reporting to Central Administration and the Board of Education. Whereas Mrs. Freehill's leadership extended beyond the classroom as she supervised and managed the scoreboard and clock for the district's athletic programs for 28 years, demonstrating her unwavering commitment to supporting all facets of student life. Mrs. Freehill was also an active and engaged member of the Compact, Building Utilization, and Health Committees, playing a vital role in shaping policies and programs to benefit the entire school community. Mrs. Freehill contributed to her expertise by participating in curriculum writing and serving as a teacher representative for CSE and CPSE meetings, both during the school year and in the summer. Mrs. Freehill served as an LTA representative for the Kindergarten Center and was a voice for her colleagues. And whereas beyond her professional accomplishments, Mrs. Freehill is known for her personal interests, including her love of cooking with her husband Ray, and hosting gatherings with her friends, and creating gourmet meals that have brought joy and connection to many. Mrs. Freehill and her husband Ray are excited to embark on new adventures, including traveling the United States to explore national parks, and overseas to experience the beauty and culture of Europe. And whereas Mrs. Freehill is looking forward to spending more quality time with her 4 grown children, Colleen, Kevin, Brian, and Kelly, and their spouses Patrick, Jenna, and Jack, as well as her 7 grandchildren, Maggie, James, Patrick, Maeve, Michael, Owen, and Quinn, offering her love, support, and guidance as a proud grandmother. And whereas the staff, administration, the entire school community, and the Lynbrook Board of Education extend their deepest gratitude to Mrs. Freehill for her 28 years of exceptional service, to her dedication to students, families, and staff, and her tireless contributions to the broader school community. We congratulate Mrs. Kathy Freehill on her well-earned retirement and wish her all the best in this exciting new chapter of her life. Her legacy as a teacher, leader, and mentor will continue to inspire all who've had the privilege of collaborating with her. And now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Education accepts the resignation of Kathleen Freehill for the purposes of retirement effective June 30th, 2025. Ann Conway, if you could stand up.
Ann Conway, teacher, Marion Street. Mrs. Ann Conway from the Lynbrook Union Free School District has announced her retirement effective June 27th, 2025 at the close of business. After dedicating 30 years to the principal, staff, students, and parents of Marion Street Elementary School. And whereas Mrs. Conway began her remarkable teaching journey in 1993 as a kindergarten teacher in Queens, spreading joy and knowledge to the youngest learners. Lynbrook was fortunate to welcome her at the start of the 1997 school year, where she devoted 27 years to nurturing the minds and hearts of first and second grade students. And whereas each year Mrs. Conway creates a strong classroom community and affectionately refers to her students as chickadees. When walking past the classroom, you can hear the melodic sounds of Mrs. Conway singing to her chickadees, ensuring that they are comfortable and welcome each day. And whereas Mrs. Conway's classroom science is an interactive experience. Her students have spent time observing the growth of bean plant seedlings on the windowsill, feeding ladybugs and praying mantises, and waiting for quail eggs to hatch. They have observed, hypothesized, and recorded the growth of various life forms in the classroom. Mrs. Conway has consistently reminded us of the importance of connecting with our environment and our true selves. Mrs. Conway also played a key role in creating 2 beautiful gardens for our schools, planting numerous trees and thousands of bulbs. Through her dedication to outdoor learning spaces, Mrs. Conway has cultivated a genuine appreciation for the natural world among her students. And whereas additionally, Mrs. Conway has enhanced the Buddy program, promoting positive relationships and community building activities. She has prioritized the child approach by regularly incorporating mindfulness and yoga into her classroom routines, for which she has affectionately nicknamed Mother Earth. And whereas Mrs. Conway has participated in the greater school community as an advisor of the Marion Street Student Council, Mrs. Conway worked to teach students about civic mindfulness and community service. She initiated the school's recycling and composting efforts. Mrs. Conway was a member of the Marion Street Compact Committee and explored similar topics to positively impact the school. And whereas Mrs. Conway has set a standard of excellence for future educators, we are grateful to Mrs. Conway for her genuine kindness, talent, and unwavering dedication to our students. Whereas the Board of Education thanks Mrs. Conway and her commitment to Lynbrook schools and wishes her a happy and healthy retirement with her husband, Paul, and will continue her new journey, enjoying time spent with her children, Declan, Moira, and Zoe. May Mrs. Conway delight in following the athletic pursuits of her children, cheering them on with pride and enthusiasm, whether they are on the field or the ice. And whereas Mrs. Conway turns her attention to mentoring future educators, may she impart her passion for teaching, guiding them to love the profession as deeply as she has. We hope she finds peace and tranquility in her continued practice of yoga and mindfulness, embracing the calm within her soul. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Mrs. Ann Conway for purposes of retirement effective June 30th, 2025.
Rita Callahan, please stand up.
Whereas Miss Rita Callahan, second grade teacher at West End Elementary School, is retiring after an extraordinary 31 years of service in education, 27 of which have been devoted to the students and families of West End. And whereas Miss Callahan began her teaching career at St. Raymond's School in East Rockaway, where she taught for 4 years before joining the West End family in 1994. She has since taught 4th, 3rd, and 2nd grade, making her way through the building and through 5 classrooms, while leaving a legacy of excellence in every corner. And whereas Ms. Callahan has a unique ability to connect with all students, fostering a love for learning through her creativity, passion, and unwavering dedication. Whether guiding students through complex lessons or finding innovative ways to make learning fun, her classroom was always a place where students thrived and laughed along the way. And whereas Ms. Callahan's unique career ended in the only classroom in the district, and likely the state, with its own fireplace, albeit one that is not functional, much to the disappointment of anyone hoping for a cozy reading nook or a place to roast marshmallows. And whereas Ms. Callahan's warmth and kindness have touched the lives of countless students, colleagues, and families, she has left an indelible mark on the school, embodying the very best of what it means to be an educator and a role model. And whereas Ms. Callahan's devotion to the West End community extended beyond the classroom, she was an original member of the Fly with the Owls board, dedicating significant time and effort to making the event a success. Her leadership and enthusiasm for this initiative exemplify her commitment to bringing people together and supporting the community. And whereas Ms. Callahan's love for running and hot yoga has been a source of inspiration to many, she has completed several marathons, showcasing her determination and perseverance. In fact, during one memorable New York marathon, Ms. Callahan's energy and enthusiasm were unmatched as she insisted on relocating the setup area multiple times before the race, only to leave her running partner behind halfway through the course. And whereas Ms. Callahan has also served as a union representative and volunteered her time on countless committees, including Compact, Math Night, and Multicultural Night. Her enthusiasm extended to school events, as she is notorious for wanting to play in the staff volleyball game, but is always content being the best cheerleader on the sidelines. And whereas Ms. Callahan's strong faith and her unwavering support as a friend and colleague have made her a cornerstone of the West End community. She is deeply cherished for her kindness, generosity, and ability to lift up everyone around her. Whereas she is also known for tutoring students and welcoming children from the aftercare program who visit her while she works well into the evening hours. She remembers everyone, often reconnecting with past students and families. Remarkably, she has even taught the parent of one of her recent students. And whereas Ms. Callahan comes from a loving family, including her siblings Peter, Vincent, Susan, and Beth, and is a devoted aunt to her nieces and nephews. Her family and her relationships are a vital part of her life, and she treasures the time spent with them. And whereas the Board of Education and the entire West End Elementary School community deeply appreciate Ms. Callahan's 31 years of service, her unwavering commitment to her students, her humor, and her legacy of making learning exciting and memorable for every child who entered her classroom, and recognizes and honors the extraordinary career of Ms. Rita Callahan, expressing heartfelt gratitude for her dedication, passion, and joy, and wishing her a retirement filled with long runs, cozy moments by real fireplaces, and opportunities for more traveling adventures, such as last year's trip to Paris with her sister and niece, with many more to come. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts the resignation of Rita Callahan for purposes of retirement effective June 30th, 2025.
Our next contestant, Robin Fryman, please stand up.
Whereas Robin Fryman, an English teacher at South Middle School, has announced her intention to retire effective close of business on September 24, 2025, after 30 years as an educator, and whereas Robin Fryman dedicated over 30 years to the noble profession of education, shaping the minds and futures of countless students, she has shared her passion for learning across multiple educational settings, including time taught in New York City. She has also gone above and beyond to prepare students for their futures by teaching SAT classes and school entrance exam classes to ensure students are ready for academic success. And whereas Mrs. Fryman has been an integral leader within the Lynbrook School District, she has made a profound impact as an ELA teacher, guiding students on the secondary level with a love for literature, writing, and critical thinking. She has spent much of her time at South Middle School, serving not just as a classroom teacher, but as teacher in charge for several years. In this capacity, Mrs. Fryman demonstrated unwavering dedication to not only South Middle School, but the Lynbrook community. She was responsible for creating lasting memories for Lynbrook students, such as organizing and leading student trips to Frost Valley. She enriched our school community through extracurricular contributions, including running the school store, as well as supervising the middle school's National Junior Honor Society. And whereas Mrs. Fryman is a proud alumnus of Hofstra University and an enthusiastic supporter of Texas A&M and Ohio State University, carrying their school spirit wherever she goes, and whereas, after a remarkable career of service and dedication, Mrs. Fryman is embarking on a well-earned retirement and an exciting new chapter in Texas with her husband Justin and 2 children, Noah and Sydney. And whereas we extend our deepest gratitude to Mrs. Fryman for her decades of commitment, passion, and inspiration in the fields of education. We wish Mrs. Fryman all the best in her retirement and hope that it is filled with joy, relaxation, and new adventures in Texas. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Robin Fryman effective close of business on September 24th, 2025 for the purpose of retirement.
Karen Goulet, please stand up.
Whereas Mrs. Karen Goulet, family and consumer science teacher at the Lynbrook Union Free School District, has announced her intention to retire effective June 30th, 2025, after an innovative and impactful 16-year career at Lynbrook schools, during which she demonstrated unwavering dedication, creativity, and a student-first approach. And whereas Mrs. Goulet's versatility, which saw her career stretch from Taiwan to Levittown before finally making a home in Lynbrook, was constantly on display, and she taught the full array of family and consumer science offerings, often evolving her courses to fit the needs of the students, embracing new methodologies, and thinking outside the box to ensure her curriculum remained relevant, engaging, and impactful. And whereas Mr. Lentini noted in an observation, quote, "It is evident that you have fostered an environment that is inviting," which would become Mrs. Goulet's trademark, as she would continually be commended for her care and dedication to the students, both inside and outside of the classroom, always going the extra mile to support and uplift those around her. And whereas Mrs. Goulet was not only an exceptional educator, but also a passionate supporter of her students beyond the classroom, attending numerous school functions, athletic events, and extracurricular activities to root for and encourage them, reinforcing her role as a mother, as a mentor and advocate. And whereas Mr. Reynes, former high school principal, once commented in an evaluation that, quote, "As a teacher, you exude warmth and enthusiasm, and the rapport and mutual respect that you and your students have for each other is outstanding," reflecting the deep connections she forged with her students throughout her compassion, energy, and steadfast encouragement. And whereas Mrs. Goulet was always willing to step up whenever needed, whether it was assisting colleagues, leading initiatives, or volunteering her time and expertise to support school-wide efforts, embodying the true spirit of teamwork and dedication. Whereas the Board of Education would like to thank Mrs. Goulet for her love and dedication to the students and their well-being, her innovative approach to education, and her invaluable contribution to the Lynbrook school community. And whereas the Board of Education wishes Mrs. Goulet a happy and healthy retirement, creating cherished memories in both Long Beach and Mastow, Pennsylvania, with her husband Gene, her sons Drew and Campbell. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Mrs. Karen Goulet for purposes of retirement effective June 30th, 2025, with deep appreciation for her years of service, leadership, and unwavering commitment to the students of the Lynbrook schools. Thank you.
Mary Jean Lamarca, please stand up.
Whereas Mrs. Mary Jean Lamarca, mathematics teacher in the Lynbrook Union Free School District, has announced her intention to retire effective June 30th, 2025, after a lauded 25-year career at Lynbrook High School, during which she consistently upheld the highest standards of excellence and professionalism. And whereas Mrs. Lamarca has inspired thousands of students by teaching nearly the full complement of math courses offered in the building, always at the forefront of the ever-changing educational landscape, facing challenges as opportunities head-on and with an unmatched level of detail and precision. And whereas Mrs. Lamarca's impact on her students was perhaps best described when the parent of an LHS alumni wrote to administration that, quote, "Mrs. Lamarca's dedication to her students never wavers. Her dedication to her profession is something to behold." And whereas her colleagues unanimously agreed, including Mr. Reynes, who once wrote that, quote, "Your dedication to the students is exemplary, and your dedication to the craft of teaching benefits them every day." Mrs. Lamarca has been a leader among her peers, setting a standard of excellence and serving as a mentor to new and veteran teachers alike, ensuring that the integrity of instruction remained paramount. And whereas Mrs. Lamarca has played a critical role in maintaining high academic standards, continuously pushing herself and her students to achieve excellence, and fostering an environment where learning and growth thrive. And whereas the Board of Education would like to thank Mrs. Lamarca for her steadfast dedication to instruction and unwavering leadership, serving as a teacher and mentor to Lynbrook staff and students alike for over 2 decades, and leaving an indelible mark on the school community. And whereas her presence in the school has been one of inspiration, strength, and dedication, ensuring that every student she taught was prepared not just for mathematics, but for the challenges of the future. And whereas the Board of Education wishes Mrs. Lamarca a happy and healthy retirement, filled with spending time at Citi Field, go Mets, or traveling to Las Vegas with her family, husband Bob, children Matthew, Maureen, and Megan, and her growing number of grandchildren. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby accepts the resignation of Mrs. Mary Jean Lamarca for purposes of retirement effective June 30th, 2025, with deep appreciation for her years of exceptional service, leadership, and dedication to the Lynbrook school community. Congratulations.
If we can get those attendees, retirees, to come up, please, for a photograph. Unfortunately, Mr. Brescher, I need to continue my meeting. You're not the problem. You're not the issue. I was waiting for you. Oh my God. All right, moving on to reports from trustees. Mrs. Aragona, Mr. Murray, anything on the policy committee?
So tonight, we're adopting, after a second reading, of about a dozen policies that we've talked about over the last few months, so I don't need to go into detail, but mostly just to keep our policies in line with updates to state regulation or federal law. And we're having the first reading of a few policies that, again, need to be updated for changes in federal law or state regulations around school district records and school safety plans and safety teams.
And how about anything on facilities committee, Mr. Murray?
Yes, there's a facilities committee has been meeting. We've done a few tours of all the buildings in the district, and one of the main projects that we're proposing to be put into the budget for the next school year would be the renovation of 3 student bathrooms at West End to bring them into ADA compliance. And renovating some classroom spaces there to accommodate the expansion of our special education program at West End so it can fully and appropriately accommodate the full continuum of services. And then the committee is talking about potential uses of capital reserve funds, which would be a potential proposition in May that would be to renovate the high school roof, which is coming to near that time, and to also create a new science classroom at North Middle School, which is necessary due to some major changes in state curriculum.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. Mr. Lunar, on BOCES budget.
So currently, BOCES is in the process of finalizing and passing its budget for the 2025-26 school year. 30 seconds, I won't bore everyone with the details, but what is BOCES? BOCES is the Board of Cooperative Education Services. It's a vehicle, a cooperative that allows school districts throughout the island to achieve savings and collaborate to provide better services in a cost-effective manner. Some of the benefits that we get are shared services, training, certain transportation options, meeting the needs of certain students who we can't meet in district. They offer programs. Topically, we've heard a lot about regionalization, and that was a big buzzword a month or two ago. To some extent, those benefits are already achieved through BOCES for all the districts on the island voluntarily. BOCES right now, where we are in the timeline, is we've had 2 fairly lengthy sessions. Each district has a representative who attends those sessions, where we've gone over some numbers. It's expected that on April 6th, we'll have a informational meeting where BOCES will present more information. They're also going to have a Meet the Candidates night for individuals who are running to be on the BOCES board. And on April 23rd, all the districts that are involved in BOCES will vote whether to pass the BOCES budget. Couple things I do want to highlight, and again, I don't want to walk through the numbers of BOCES budget. Everyone would glaze over within about 30 seconds, but we hear about our own budget concerns in this district, and the costs are going up, and Dr. Lynch has given some pretty scary messaging and about what we're facing. BOCES, who has far more negotiating power and bargaining power than we have, is facing the exact same issues and concerns. Their budget's going up too. We hear things like, salaries and benefits are out of control. BOCE's salaries and budgets and expenses are going up just as much. So it's not a Lynbrook-wide thing. I do want to highlight one element of their budget which caught my attention. There's been a lot of talk about busing and what Lynbrook should do in busing and additional busing. BOCE's budget for transportation in 21-22 school year was $8.4 million. The next year it went to 8.3, and in 23-24 the budget went to $9.5 million. For this upcoming school year, the budget will be $16.9 million. That's BOCE's, that's not us. That's over a 70% increase. So when we talk about some of the increases that we're seeing on the cost of transportation, BOCE's is seeing that as well. So I just wanted to point that out. I think obviously the BOCE's budget passes every year. It'll pass again this year, but I thought it was important that the community hear some of the increases that they're facing as well.
PTA?
Since I'm on a roll, I'll just keep going. PTA, I have 2 or 3 quick announcements. Just want to say congratulations to the 17 volunteers and staff members who were honored at this week's Founders Day ceremony. It was a great night, and pictures will be going up on the district's website shortly, so check the website for pictures. Congratulations to all the recipients of the Founders Day Awards. The next PTA event is the annual staff volleyball game. That's going to be held on Friday, April 25th. This year, we're excited to announce that there is going to be staff from the Universal Pre-K joining the teams as well, so that's something that's new. Finally, the PTA legislative reps have been busy attending PTA conferences about foundation aid. That's what we've all been talking about nonstop the past 2 or 3 months. The PTA has really taken a very active role in being on top of that issue, and I want to thank them, I think, on behalf of the whole board. They're continuing to attend meetings, breakfasts, meet with local reps on the impact of foundation aid on the students and the community generally. And just to close, on March 19th is the next parent university that the PTA is offering, so stay tuned for more information that'll be forthcoming on that.
Thank you, Mr. Lewin. Anything else from any other board members, attendance at events and so forth? Okay, so moving on to old business. So Mr. Cornocello's AP class had come in previously and spoke to us about the criteria to be utilized for a student member of the Board of Education. They presented some option to us. We have to come up with just a finalization on direction for them, as well as working on a policy. I guess Mr. Murray and Ms. Aragona could begin to just draft that, but as far as getting some direction on that, the last we left it with them, they were going to create a criteria that they would get to us to approve of, and then would come to us with a couple of students for us to choose after they've gone through their process. So we're, generally speaking, are we comfortable with that as a board?
Yeah, I think that they did a really great job, and we'll just, tweak the process, and the policy will just indicate that the board will make the final decision over who the reps are, but we'll take their feedback.
All right, so if you can, I guess you could work on drafting up that, and we'll move forward with it. And then, Dr. Lynch, foundation aid.
So we did have some good news out of Albany, not the complete good news that I wanted, but I do have to give credit where credit's due. If you've been following me along with what the big issues are up with foundation aid, we know that in December, the Rockefeller Institute issued a report that had several significant suggestions for the legislature to take. The governor's proposal has taken one of the most important ones for our district, so they're no longer going to use 25-year-old poverty data, so they're going to use current poverty data. And what that means for us practically is a $1 million increase in foundation aid. That's a 6.92% increase. So that is a healthy increase. The thing about money, you always want more, right? Like there's certainly other things that could be addressed, but that, I would say, is the move in the right direction. That being said, I've been discussing things with PTA, and yes, Mrs. Davies, who is the PTA rep, will be doing a legislative breakfast with us on March the 7th through a refit organization. I'm on the board of that. Mr. Kirschenberg was also invited to that. There are going to be several legislators there. So one thing, and I don't know whether this is a this year thing, I doubt it could be adopted that quickly because they'll follow what they can follow, but I have to stay on these themes because it just gets me angry. So the formula, just like updating poverty data from 2025, from 25 years ago, schools are not even close being in the same businesses as they were in the year 2000. So if those of you, some of you people in the audience may have been in high school in the year 2000, what did mental health services look like in an American high school in 2000? Barely non-existent. Now we have full staffs of, we're very proud to say we have multiple psychologists in some of our schools, and we have multiple social workers in our schools, and a full guidance staff. That's just kind of needed. The state of kids, especially coming after COVID, these needs need to be addressed. There's the great anxiety generation. If we're not addressing that stuff, then who is addressing that stuff? And I have to say, our staff, they are catching things before they even emerge into things. And I just think the state should be funding that appropriately, so that we're going to be hitting on that point. The other thing, you heard me say this last time, and I just want to make sure I underline something I said half last time that I want to make sure it's very clear. We are bringing kids back to district, first and foremost, because it's the right thing to do. But Mr. Mayor, you asked me a question. It is also the more cost-effective way of doing it. Tuitions outside, it's actually better to have the kids present in the district. So those are two good reasons for having special education students in our own schools. But the irony is, and this pointed out, it's just true, is that the aid does not flow as freely for kids who stay in our own schools. And I think that needs to be corrected. And I meet with our other superintendents in this quadrant. Everyone's doing the same thing. They're bringing kids home, mostly because it's the right thing to do. Lynbrook kids belong in Lynbrook schools. That's been this board's mantra. So if the state doesn't catch up with that to say, so just to give you an idea of what that funding formula is, unless they take basically 3 times the cost of our operating expenses, and only after that do we start to get aided, which means in this district, we have to spend $70,000 before we even get $1 of aid. And that's just really antiquated. It's just not in line when you think of let's go back to 2000. How many in-district programs were there? They were mostly BOCES programs, maybe mostly private programs. It needs to catch up. And then the other one is just school security. What did school security look like in 2000? Open doors, come on in. Oh, anyway, I'll hold the door for you when you think of how far we've come, as opposed to a full security force of retired police officers and corrections officers. That just is an expensive proposition. And so the letter that we're going to put out in cooperation with the PTA, I don't normally get political, but I'll just get a little political, that to say, I know, God forbid, there is a school shooting, there's going to be all sorts of thoughts and prayers. Why can't we fund school security before there's thoughts and prayers? It's just so, it is dollar for donuts, the cheaper way to do it. Just nothing to do with lives and people's hearts being torn out, but just $1's worth of prevention is worth only knows. So we really have to get their eye on that one. So those are going to be our legislative provide. Again, I don't think we're getting much movement this year on those, but if we hammer that home, and again, East Rockaway, Malvern, Rockville Center, Hewlett, who doesn't have these same exact issues? It's something that we as a region need to be concerned with. So that's kind of my update on the state ed side, funding side.
Thank you, Doug. You can move right on to superintendent's report.
Sure. Okay, so our board goals update. As we know, there are 3 board goals this year. The first is the implementation of the profile of the owl. I hear people are a little sick of me talking about the profile of the owl, but we'll talk about what it actually is now. This is where the rubber really hits the road. It was once upon a time a philosophical concept, and we had it up on a board here, and I remember Mr. Murray saying those should be our guiding principles when we start to get down to what instruction looks like. That's what's happening now. So one of the things that came out of the profile of the owl, loud and clear from, well, the first finding from our community was the need to provide social emotional support for our students. So that goes back to the other point. But the other one was communication skills, especially writing. Dr. Balekis, how many teachers are now currently signed up for Writing Revolution? About 75. So we have a staff of about 300 teachers, and 75 of them are currently, and it's not just, you think that's just English teachers who are teaching writing. No, it is a cross-curricular content, and our hope is that's going to raise rigor across the board. That is in response to the community's needs. So we're going to be closing out our staff development year on March the 3rd under our new staff development structure, and we'll be really starting to go, let's take a look at the profile. Now let's, I know what the elementary people are doing. Let's look at the curriculum maps. Where does that actually fit in? So that's really kind of exciting. It's the real work of the profile of the owl, and it's going to, it'll be great, I think. The MTSS goal, so that's the multi-tiered system of supports. So what the state of New York and really just good practice would ask us to do is we, for decades, have been taking what's called RTI data, response to intervention data. We've been asking, how are the kids reading? How are they computating? And we kind of track them on data, and we give supports so that kids are prepared to do their learning. In the new model, we put that all next to readiness for learning, emotional readiness for learning, and that becomes our MTSS plan. So the first way that you'll see this, I have to say our elementary schools have been doing this for a long time, and they have these, and I see Mrs. Curran in the back, data meetings where they're culling through this data and making instructional choices on that. We're going to, and our elementary students started to take the My Sabers during this course of this year. We're going to start to roll that out to middle school students next, so that we can start to do a more comprehensive version of that at the middle school level. So that's again a little wonky, but that's really important work. And finally, our last goal is the communications committee. So we're getting a new website, so that we're going to be the committee has made a decision to recommend to the board that we use Parent Square as our parent communication tool. They have a companion site called Smart Sites. So I think we're going to do a unified communication system through Parent Square. So we'll start to move that along, and that'll complete those goals. Budget update. So every time I talk to you, it's getting a little bit better. That's the happy news. But generally, in all honesty, where we normally are at this time of year, so we know when we the board has to see the budget this Friday. That's kind of what we do. We get to ruin their February break so that they can kind of take it when you see this book of budget things, so that they have time to go through it. We're going to present them probably for the first time ever an unbalanced budget. We're going to give them the expense side of the budget and mostly the revenue side of the budget. We need to bridge those gaps. There are some things we're working on. We're still waiting for the results of this retirement incentive that we've offered to members of the Lynbrook Teachers Association. So when 10 teachers sign up for that incentive, it'll be a go, and that will go a long way to closing that budget gap, and we could be in potentially really good shape, but it's just not there yet. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Moving along, so one exciting thing that we're going to be introducing next year is we've heard from parents that the current way that we do early mornings needs to be improved. So many districts surrounding us have developed early drop-off programs. So we will be issuing an RFP, that's a request for proposal for outside providers to provide a early drop-off program for our elementaries and maybe our middle school. That will be from 7 in the morning until 8:30, so people who have to make the city can pay for the service, drop the kid off, and then we'll be able to continue. So that was something I know parents were very interested in. Right now, just from looking at our neighboring districts, the cost would be about $3,000 a year. So that's just to give you a heads up that is in the works. UPK, so if you look at the state funding runs.
Dr. Lynch, can I just ask you a quick question?
Sure, absolutely. Sorry,
The early drop-off, that would be revenue neutral for the district, right? It wouldn't be a cost factor?
Oh, no, it cannot be a cost factor for the district, yes. Thank you, Mr. Linner. Yeah, absolutely. We put out a request for proposal where a separate company, just like our after-school programs right at school, it would function the same way, only in the morning. Thank you for that clarification. So with UPK, we have been awarded 156 spots, which is the same number that we had last year. So we'll be, basically, we do it contingent upon the passing of the state's budget, which should be on or about April 1st. Then Dr. Berman will put out her information about registration and the lottery. The last couple of years, we had the lottery, but it wasn't necessary for admission. So we'll see. But 156 spots, that will be coming up. And look for the website, those that will be announced shortly. And on that note, I'm going to ask Dr. Belekas to address summer programs.
Thank you, Dr. Lynch. We are excited to announce several offerings that are going to be available throughout the district for the summer of 2025, pending the results of the annual budget vote and interest levels. So the summer playground will be available for students entering kindergarten through 8th grade. Due to door replacement projects at West End and Marion Street, the program will take place at South Middle and North Middle School, running from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Monday through Friday, July 1st through August 8th. In addition to the program, as has been in the past, the district is hoping to offer families opportunities to extend beyond the traditional summer playground program at South Middle School only, because we do have some spatial constraints and enrollment requirements. So all these new programs that I'm going to be describing as possibilities for folks to sign up for will only be at South. The first opportunity is a Right at School aftercare program. This will be providing aftercare right after summer playground from 12 to 3 each day. And the next couple of programs, they're all enrichment opportunities in the areas of STEM, literacy, and mathematics. Camp Invention is an exciting nationally recognized program that inspires curiosity and helps kids build STEM skills. Students will explore hands-on challenges and open-ended adventures designed to encourage new discoveries and to bring ideas to life. That program will run from July 7th through July 18th from 11 to 3, and that would be available for students in grades K through 6, so those entering K through 6. Participants that are enrolled in summer playground, obviously based on the hours that I just shared, they would need to leave the summer playground early and bring their lunch on those days. Other opportunities include the Literacy Lounge, during which students can dive into stories and engage in reading activities such as book clubs, readers' theater, and skill-based games. Math Quest, during which students will discover interactive games and engaging challenges that spark mathematical thinking and problem-solving skills. Both of these programs are open to students entering kindergarten through 8th grade, and each week's experience would be unique, so there will be 2 weeks of each of those, and you can sign up for 2 English, 2 math, or 1 of each, or just 1. You can make those choices. Students would be able to take those classes between July 21st and 25th, or July 28th to August 1st, and those would be offered right after, again, the summer playground, so from 12 to 1:30. Participants who were in summer playground, again, would have to bring lunch on those days because they would be there for a longer period of time. We will be sending out interest surveys tomorrow regarding these programs, and the community's response to these surveys is very important because this is going to help the district appropriately plan for these programs. It is important to remember that while you may live closer to one of the schools, you may want to sign up for the site that offers the appropriate programming for your family. As I said before, all these additional programs will only be offered at South Middle School because of the spatial and enrollment requirements. I cannot stress enough the importance of taking this survey, since these additional programs will run if and only if minimum enrollment requirements are met. So please, take that survey seriously. Shifting gears for a moment, the traditional Lynbrook High School summer offerings, registration will start for summer school on June 27th, and classes begin on July 8th. We will be running the classes until the New York State Regents exams. The exams this year on August 19th and 20th, and Regents review classes will be offered the week prior from August 11th through the 18th. We will be continuing our summer E&L classes, and they will adhere to the schedules determined by the buildings in which they're housed. We will also be offering our Intro to Science Research summer classes for our entering 9th graders. There will be 2 sessions, one from July 7th through 17th, and the other from July 21st to the 31st. Finally, we will be hosting In Spirit AI summer program again from August 4th through 15th. These are the courses that are led by Stanford, MIT, and other top university teachers who specialize in AI, and are passionate about inspiring students. This 30-hour project-based program will explore the foundations and applications of machine learning. And as we had done in the past, that would be open to other school districts as well. Thank you.
And just one more issue on the curriculum part. So when Mr. Luna was discussing BOCES, we actually had a visit from BOCES Superintendent Levin last week. He actually came to the district, so he did a visit to the kindergarten center, Marion Street, and then south. And what he was looking at was our early literacy program. So he was looking at our speech-to-text approach. Sounds right, that you all are well aware of. And the word that he used was blown away, and he's an old reading teacher. So that was kind of an impressive thing. And then we also stopped in to see the special class at Marion Street, which is just a great environment. And then we thought it was really important. We took him, and all our schools have this, but we were on the south end of town, so we went to the suite and south, where there's the calming room, and you have the psychologist's office right there, and you have the 2 guidance counselors right there, and we took them back to the social worker's office just to see some of the program that we built. So I just thought it was worthwhile showing off. And yes, while there's a formal process called regionalization, there's also just practical regionalization. So, and then I'm going to Mr. Press for capital projects.
Thank you, Dr. Lynch. Just a quick update, as Dr. Baleka said, he mentioned the door projects, so we have those starting up right after break. We'll be meeting with the vendor that's going to be doing the wireless door locks that we're going to be installing in these doors. So that project is starting to become more real. The other projects that we have submitted to the state are in the third-party review process. Third-party review is essentially necessary because it takes about 6 months for the state on its own to approve projects. So they've re-implemented a program they started a few years ago where they farm out the review to architectural firms. So we took advantage of that service because that should expedite the review of the projects that we have scheduled, hopefully, if we get approval in time to start this summer. That's restroom projects here and over at Atlantic Avenue. And there's one more project. Let's see. Is that the elevator here? No, that is the elevator here. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Just in renovating the elevator here at the high school. And that's it.
Mr. Belmont, back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Lynch. At this time, we'll open up the microphone to anyone from the community who likes to address the board. If you would like to, please come to the microphone, identify yourself, and indicate if you live in or out of district. Moving on with the meeting, we have one sympathy resolution this evening for Richard Ulrich. Whereas the members of the Board of Education of the Lynbrook Union Free School District have learned with sorrow of the passing of Richard Ulrich, former employee in Lynbrook School District, and whereas Richard Ulrich served as a high school science teacher for 29 years, from 1963 through 1992, whereas the Board of Education is mindful of the contributions made to our district by Richard during his years of service to our community. Be it resolved that the Board of Education records its sorrow, its sympathy, and the esteem in which Mr. Ulrich was held. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the family of Richard Ulrich with the hope that they find solace and comfort in the rich heritage of good works for which he is remembered and revered. The board gratefully acknowledges and accepts the following donation, $223 from the Kindergarten Parents Club. It was a fundraiser for a student activities account. Moving on to the consent agenda, I'd like to ask for a consent agenda on resolutions 2502C1 through 2502C6, 2502C8 through 2502C18, 2502NC1 through 2502NC17, and 2502G1 and 2502G3 through 2502G52. May I have a motion, please? Mrs. Kelly, second, Mrs. Aragona. All in favor? May I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? Mrs. Danino, second, Mr. Luna. All in favor? That concludes the meeting. We have a budget work session on Tuesday, March 4th, and our next regular meeting will be on March 12th. Everyone stay safe, stay warm.